Hello, Wagwan. Welcome to episode 8 of Design to Win. I'm your host, C. Ruth Taylor, and this is a show where we give you the roadmap to win at life with a little Caribbean flavor. Coming up in today's show is Caribbean Author Stories, and it's with Dr. Jean Lee from Jamaica. And she's going to be telling us about her writing journey and about journaling, and we're really looking forward to that. So stay tuned. Dr. Jean Lee is a teacher by gifting, training, and profession. She has over 40 years of experience in education. Her teaching ministry spans across a variety of audiences across age and gender groupings and institutions, and formal and informal settings. Jean is a former high school teacher, education officer, cross-cultural missionary, and former senior lecturer at the Jamaica Theological Seminary, from which she retired in March 2015. She's also one of my former lecturers at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. So, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Jean Lee to the show. Welcome, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Ruth. It's a joy to be here with you again. I always enjoy my meetings with you.
Thank you so much. So, you're from Jamaica, and
Yes, Jamaica land we love.
Jamaica land we love. Can you tell us something about Jamaica that you think our listeners might be interested in that is not well known, or something you love about your home country, Jamaica?
Okay, first of all, there is no place in the world like Jamaica. I have been to a number of countries, and there is no country that I would prefer to be in than my own Jamaica. All right. So that's the first thing. In fact, when I was being called to cross cultural mission, I had a little discussion with God about that, why do I have to go? Why do I have to leave Jamaica? Why do I have to leave my family and my people? And he straightened me out on that. But, well, he was merciful. It was only for 2 years. Uh, I would like to talk about Radio Jamaica and Rediffusion. The people in my age group will know all about that, but I have a feeling that there will be other persons listening that don't know about that don't know what the acronym RJR actually stands for. And this is Radio Jamaica and Rediffusion. You have heard about those little boxes, Ruth, that we used to have? And all we could hear from it was what was coming from Radio Jamaica. And every house had one. That's all the radio most of us knew in those days. And I really enjoyed it, I must say, variety of programs. My favorite was the Birthday Club with stories like Diana and the Golden Apples and Sparky, who always dreamt about playing the piano without ever learning to play the piano. He'd always be awakened by his mother, Sparky, Sparky, in the middle of this big concerto. And so, yes, I also dreamt about playing the piano, but never really got to play because we never had a piano on which to practice. So my late sister Glenn and I did go to piano lessons. Yeah, so those were the days with CB, Charlie Babcock, how it goes, the cool fool with the live jive and so on. Yeah. And in those days, you could listen to radio to know how to speak proper English. And when I'm talking about proper English, I'm talking about English. I'm not talking about Jamaican. I am a lover of the Jamaican language. And we had lots of that too with the Lou and Rani show and so on. So, yeah, I have a feeling that there are others who are listening who don't know about that, who don't even know about Alan Magnus's Good Morning program and so on. Yeah. So
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. We are learning much about Jamaica. I personally don't know about any of those programs. I've heard about them. Let's talk about your writing journey. How did you get started in writing?
Well, I have always written, and from primary school days, I had a love for writing. In fact, I remember I wrote two poems. I don't before I was 10, I think. I'm not sure if you want to hear one of them, but yeah. So I wrote two poems. I loved writing. Yes, I loved composition in school. I remember once I wrote a composition called Window Shopping, and it was so good that the teacher wanted to know if it was really my work. I was really offended, I must tell you. I was offended, but it was kind of mixed emotions because it means that she really thought it was good. Yeah, she gave me a mark, so I don't remember what mark it was, but it really was a very good. Um, it was a Christmas story, actually, about a poor little boy looking, window shopping and seeing the nativity scene and so on. Yep, I think I was in third form at that point. Yeah, so throughout my school career into university, I loved writing, whether it was in Spanish or in English. But of course, the English writing was much better. Yeah, and I remember one of the best comments I've ever got for my writing was from Professor Emeritus now, Eddie Ball, who said something like this. Yeah, I enjoyed reading your essay. Wow. Never mind that I didn't get an A. For me, that comment was much more than an A. To have a writer, a Caribbean writer, my professor, saying that he enjoyed reading what I had written. I remember much later on when I was at Caribbean Graduate School of Theology, um, two professors were writing on the front of something I wrote. It was a very daring essay. It was an essay called Images of the Jamaican Man in Scripture. And it had some patois and so in it as well. In those days, I didn't know how to, well, we weren't really using standardized spelling. And the two of them were so, it was so outrageous that I read it to a friend of mine and he said, Jean, you're either going to get an A for this or an F. I got the A. And the two professors who were marking it had a dialogue on the front of the paper. Oh, Jean is a poet and so on and so forth and so on. So I really felt good about that. And of course, I was doing my personal writing. I was doing journals, just talking about things that were happening in my life and so on. So any other question about that, I'm willing to ask. I'm willing to answer.
Okay, well, that's quite a journey. So, from a tender age, you had a love for writing, and throughout the years, you got affirmation about your writing from various lecturers and persons. So, can you tell us about the books you've written? I think you have 3 published books.
Yes,
Tell us
I
a little bit
do.
more about those books and perhaps the theme of those books.
Right. Well, 3 published solo books because, as you know, I also co-authored a Spanish text, Español para la Vida. But yeah, so the first one was Journey Selections from Jean's Journal. And in 2018, I produced the second edition of that, changed up a few things, had standardized patois in some of the poems, and also put more poems in and updated it, things that had happened in my life since I wrote the first one. And then in 2016 that I wrote God Has My Back, He Has Yours Too. Uh, the first book was written in a period of subtle persecution, which I'm not at liberty to go into. And so it was coping with that, coping also with emotional upheavals as I tried to sort out relationships with friends. Now, is this platonic? Is this romantic? And so on. As I dealt with persons who were like frenemies. My friend Erica Campbell would say frenemies, yes. Yes, so that's, and in fact, why I actually published that was that I was reading one poem, which I now called The Trap. It was called something else in the first edition. I read this poem to a spiritual advisor, and he says, Jean, this should be published. So that was what came into my head. And then as I started working on this book to be published, I remembered that my childhood dream was to be an author. And I had written a book, a whole book, a mystery book called The Mystery of Carlotta. I had written that book when I was about 12, and then I lost the manuscript. So these books are fulfilling my childhood dream, you know. Yes, the God Has My Back, He Has Yours Too came about because of a spiritual attack, an attack on my faith that I received when I was trying to win one of my friends to Christ. And you know, it almost floored me. I'm saying, but Lord, I asked you, you know, to fill me with the Holy Spirit with this encounter, because I had always witnessed in various ways to her, but this time I felt I needed a more direct approach. And I was just flattened. I couldn't answer some of her questions or anything. So as I struggled through that period of faith mixed with doubt, I said, no, but what you believe is real. Your relationship with God is real. So I went back to some of the things that I had already written, and I went back to things that I could remember, some of which I had not written down. And yeah, I said, yeah, you know, this is real. God really has my back. So even even the fact that my faith was attacked was part of what I understand as a sovereignty of God. My life verse is, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, to those who are called according to his purpose. Had it not been for that spiritual attack, perhaps that book, God Has My Back, He Has Yours Too, would never have been written. And so I give God thanks for that, and continue to give him thanks for even for the painful circumstances, some of which I'm still going through, because God is a redemptive God. God is the greatest recycler, and he takes the messy things of our lives and the painful things, the hurtful things of our lives. If we just trust him, we would know that he is allowing it for our good, because he always has our best intentions at heart. Did I say I was quoting Romans 8:28? Yeah, that's my life verse.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. That's interesting. So if you are going through tough situations as a person of faith, I want to encourage you to get that book, God Has My Back, and also to engage in the art of journaling, because you never know, those journals could be your next books, or the subjects from them could lead to you writing a book. And with that, I know Dr. Lee recently had a summit. Journaling for maximum success was the theme. I want to ask you, Doc, tell us a little bit about that. How could someone turn their journal entries into books?
First of all, they need to know that when you're journaling, you don't edit. You just write. You just write how you feel, you know. Uh, initially your journal is just for yourself. But when you're thinking of publishing now, remember that you're not writing for yourself anymore, you're writing for others. So you have to go through and look to see what is it that I can share that I'm comfortable with. I'm emotionally comfortable with. I don't feel too naked. I had to do that with one of the books I was writing. What is it that I would rather not share with the public? What is it that might implicate other persons and so on? And sometimes you have to cut that out, or you have to fictionalize it somehow. You have to use nom de plume and so on. So that's one thing. You also need to make sure that you have persons who can read your work objectively. Don't bother with those friends. Oh, this is so nice, Jean. No, 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 no. No. Somebody who will look at it and say, this is not yet ready. What do you mean by this? What do you think your readers will mean? And so on. These are the kind of people you need to read your work and to give you feedback, honest feedback. And then you have to know that you have to keep rewriting. Don't bother to have any attitude when they critique your work. They mean you well, okay? Then, of course, you will need to think of an editor who is going to be your professional editor. It is best not to take shortcuts. I have seen work that is shoddy, that is just put out there. And it doesn't look as if anybody got any proper guidance, and it's a number of local books that I have read. So you need to choose an editor. You also need to choose, as I have done, a marketing coach. Excuse me, Ruth, you are my marketing coach. Because the fact that you have written does not mean that anybody's going to read what you have written. So you need someone to help you to put it out there. You also need to decide what kind of book you are writing. And before that, what kind of journal you are writing, because there are different kinds of journals as well. So you have to know, which audience am I directing this to? Who is my ideal reader? Because if you don't target the person or persons that you want to share your work with, then it's just going to sit there. But once you can target the reader, then you can shape the work so that it appeals to the reader. Am I leaving anything else out? As you are my co-host there.
I think you've done a wonderful job of explaining, because I know a number of persons journal, and perhaps they didn't think that their journals could become books. But I think you have emphasized the main points about that, especially about having the ideal reader and learning to market, because most persons just want to write. But whether you are traditionally published or you publish independently, you self-publish, marketing is something that you have to work on, or your book is just going to sit there. So I agree with you. As we bring this interview to a close, Doc, I want to ask another question. I know you are in retirement now, and 2 of your solo publications, I believe, were written during this time period.
That's correct.
What would you say to retirees about writing, and if this is something they should venture in at this phase of their lives? What advice would you give to them to encourage them to win with books in this season of their lives?
Well, first of all, I would encourage all retirees to make time to write. Write something every day. Never mind how short, how long. Write something every day. Write about your experiences as a retiree. Our friend Pat Reed Wall, she has written a wonderful book on retirement. And the book it's not just theory. These are things that she does. It is just amazing what this woman does. She has so many parts, you know. She does so many things. Off to Wimbledon, taking up a violin, taking up steel, pan, all sorts of things. So what I'm saying is that you need to focus in your retirement. What is it you love to do? And make a note of that and project what it is you would like to do in the future as well. So, you know, I'm talking about in this both emotional journaling and planning journaling, you know, that will help you because when you start to write, you're not necessarily writing a book. You don't have the book title necessarily in your head. You're just writing out of your experiences and your emotional response to those experiences, and also you are projecting, you know, what you will do in the future. But write every day, and write in a secluded place where you won't be interrupted, and also write and protect your writing. Because when you write for yourself, that is supposed to be private, you know, and it's only later on now that you will fix it. But don't concentrate on fixing it, as I had said before. Just write, and you would be surprised to know how much of a writer you really are. You know, there is a writer within us. It also helps to share with other persons who have written and with other retirees as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doc. We are just about out of time. So how can readers get in touch with you and get your books? Tell us about that.
Okay. They can get in touch with me on two of my emails, journalingon@gmail.com or lifeverse, as in my life verse is Romans 8:28, lifeverse828 at yahoo.com. And also there's more information about me and about my writings that can be gained from the toolkit. And you could ask about that by writing to us, to Ruth or to me, at journaling on, spelled with two L's. If you spell it with one L, you won't get in. Journalingon@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. It was a pleasure having you, and I'm sure others will be journaling and writing. So you've just heard another Caribbean author story. You can go to Amazon and search for Jean B. Lee, look for God Has My Back or Journeying On. And as we close out the show for today, I want you to put your hand over your heart and repeat after me our Design to Win pledge. There's greatness in me. It's possible to live my dreams. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. With faith, courage, and consistent action, I'm going to make it. It's not over until I win. Ta for now.